Morning, everybody. Welcome to this week's assembly. I hope you've all had a good long weekend. It was a very important day on Friday, of course. It was the 75th anniversary of VE Day, so many of you would have marked that in some way at homes. Last week we talked about the word achievement. I asked you to think about an achievement that you'd had over the last few weeks and what that meant to you. This week we're going to look at few very similar words. These ones up here: motivation, determination, resilience. You might have also heard the word perseverance as well related to those. All these words very much linked to that word achievement. So a little bit like I asked you to do last week, the first thing I'm going to ask you to do this morning is, again, think back over the last few weeks and think about something that you've needed a bit of determination to do, or something that you've struggled with motivation. Motivation meaning that desire and that will to keep going on something. So it might have been something very, very hard, or it might have just been something that you weren't even that interested in, or that might have been a little bit boring, but you needed the motivation to keep going with it. So put something in your head now. Got something? Good. And let's crack on with this week's story. After the Fall, How Humpty Dumpty Got Back Up Again by Dan Santat. My name is Humpty Dumpty. This is my favourite spot, high up on a wall. I know, it's an odd place for an egg to be, but I love being close to the birds. Then one day I fell. I'm sort of famous for that part. Folks called it the Great Fall, which sounds a little grand. It was just an accident, but it changed my life. Fortunately, all the king's men managed to put me back together. Well, most of me. There were some parts that couldn't be healed with bandages and glue. After that day, I became afraid of heights. I was so scared that it kept me from enjoying some of my favourite things. I walked past the wall every day, and I would think about climbing that ladder again. I really missed the birds and being high above the city, but I could never do it because I knew that accidents can happen. I eventually settled for watching the birds from the ground. It wasn't the same, but it was better than nothing. Then one day, an idea flew by. Making planes was harder than I thought. It was easy to get cuts and scratches. But day after day, I kept trying and trying until I got it just right. My plane was perfect, and it flew like nothing could stop it. I hadn't felt that happy in a long time. It wasn't the same as being up in the sky with the birds, but it was close enough. Unfortunately, accidents happen. They always do. I almost walked away again. But then I thought about all the time I'd spent working on my plane and all the other things I'd missed. I decided I was going to climb that wall. But the higher I got, the more nervous I felt. I didn't want to admit it, but I was terrified. I didn't look up. I didn't look down. I just kept climbing, one step at a time. Until I was no longer afraid. Maybe now you won't think of me as that egg who was famous for falling. Hopefully, you'll remember me as the egg who got back up. And learned how to fly. The story finishes with this line here on this page: life begins when you get back up. And what I'd like you to do if you're sat with brother or sister or mum or dad is just pause this assembly at this point, and I'd like you to just take a minute just to talk to mum or dad or brother or sister about what that means and how that links to those words I talked about at the beginning: motivation, determination, resilience and perseverance. So I'm just going to pause for a couple of seconds, pause this assembly and just have a very quick talk about that. Welcome back. We talk a lot in school about it being okay to make mistakes and failing, in fact, that being good things, because it's through making mistakes and through failing at things that we quite often learn things. Because struggling and finding things hard and grappling with things is a very natural thing and a very natural part of learning, and something that we encourage you to do at Gorsey Bank. The really crucial thing, of course, is that you realise that when you are finding things hard or tough, that you know that that's the moment when the really important learning is happening, or that's when you're getting better at something. And that's when the word motivation kicks in, because that's when you need to keep motivated through those times that are quite tough and keep going in order to get better at something. All this is all the more important at the moment, of course, because you're coming into the start of, I think, the 8th week of lockdown now, which is a long time. So some of you might be starting to find it a little bit hard to keep yourselves motivated and determined every week, every day. But it's really important that you do try and do that. Try and just do that extra 5 minutes work, those extra couple of questions. Keep yourself determined, keep yourself resilient, and try and keep yourself motivated. Very, very important, and really shows your strength of character and your determination. Okay, I'm going to leave you there. Have a great week, stay safe, and we'll hopefully see you all soon. Okay, bye-bye.